Welcome to the short course on Generative AI Models for Beginners by Simplilearn. So in this course, we will learn about the basic understanding of Generative AI. Then we will move on to the C applications of the many Gen AI tools. And thirdly, we will understand the Gen AI models, and then we will create our first Gen AI model. And then we will move on and see the real world impact of the generative AI models. And then we will create a chatbot using the Gen AI model. And then we will conclude the course with the limitations of the Gen AI models. And finally, we will see the future of Gen AI models. Now, let us begin with the first chapter, that is basic understanding of generative AI. So, let us begin with what is generative AI. So generative AI is a type of artificial intelligence that creates new content such as text, images, music, or even code from scratch based on what it has learned. So unlike the traditional AI, which just analyzes or classifies data, like recognizing faces or recommending products, generative AI creates. It's like the difference between a judge and an artist. One evaluates and the other one imagines and produces. So let's break it down with a simple real-world examples. The first one is ChatGPT, that is a text generation. So what it does? So ChatGPT, like the one you are talking to right now, generates human-like conversations and answers. So you can ask it to write stories, emails, explain difficult topics, or even debug a code. For example, you say, write me a bedtime story about a robot and a unicorn. The ChatGPT creates an entire story for you on that particular spot. So let's move on and see DALL-E, that is for the image generation. So DALL-E creates pictures from words, that is the text prompts. Then artists and marketers use it to generate logos, illustrations, or more without hiring a designer. For example, you type a cat wearing a space suit on Mars, and DALL-E draws it instantly. Now moving on to GPT-3, that is text plus logic task. So what it does? So GPT-3 is a powerful language model that can create and write essays, summary books, translate languages, and even write computer code. So developers use it in apps to create smart features like the AI writing assistant. So then you give GPT-3 a blog title and it writes the full article with an intro, subheadings, and conclusion. So after knowing all this, let's move on and see why are generative models. So generative models are changing the way we create content across multiple fields. So under the text field, we are writing books, articles, reports, or even poetry. And then we are assisting in the customer support with the chatbots. And then under the images section, we are helping the artists generate concepts and visuals. And then we are even handling the speeding up design and marketing content creation. And then under the music part, we are composing the background scores for videos or games. And then we are helping musicians brainstorm the melodies or the lyrics. And then finally, we write the boilerplate code under this coding section, debugging, or even creating full web apps. So now moving on, we'll see traditional AI versus generative AI. So let's compare both side by side with the simple explanations. So the main goal of traditional AI is to analyze and make decisions. And the main goal of generative AI is create new content. For example, under traditional AI, predicting stock prices or recommending books on movies. And the generative AI, we are writing stories, generating images, and so on. So traditional AI handles data. It uses data to classify or forecast, and generative AI learns from data to generate something new. The traditional AI, it labels, scores, and categories as output, and generative AI, the text, images, music videos, and so on. For example, traditional AI is face recognition, fraud detection, spam filters, and generative AI is ChatGPT, DALL-E, Music LM, and so on. So, down the line in the next chapter, we will see the applications of some generative AI tools like the ChatGPT, DALL-E, and GPT-3. So, imagine this. You are working on a college project. It's late at night and the deadlines is tomorrow. You need a well-written report and a poster design and a clear presentation. So total chaos, right? But what if I tell you that there's an AI assistant that can help you with all of this in just minutes? So welcome to the world of generative AI. Today we'll explore how tools like ChatGPT, DALL-E and GPT-3 are being used by the students, content creators and professionals to do amazing things faster, easier, and smarter. So let's break down each tool and see how you can actually use them in real life. So this is ChatGPT 4.0. If you're not aware of what ChatGPT is, so ChatGPT is an AI chatbot that can create, write essays, summaries, articles, explain topics, solve coding problems, and even conduct mock interviews all through one single chat. So let's look at real ways you can use it. So, ChatGPT model, it uses this GPT-4, the latest in the generative AI pre-trained transformer that is a GPT family. So, GPT-4 is designed for more nuanced and human-like conversation. So, have a look at the real ways we can use it. So, the first prompt we are going to try is explain the greenhouse effect like I am in class 12. So basically this prompt is asking for the greenhouse effect explanation, and it is asking the ChatGPT to behave that it is explaining to a class 12 person. So we will give this. So you can basically see a human-like generation. Just like, sure, the greenhouse effect is a natural process that warms the Earth's surface. It happens when certain gases in the Earth's atmosphere trap the heat. Here's how it works. It will have a detailed explanation on the solar energy, Earth's surface absorption, greenhouse gases, heat trapping and all. So after all this 4 points, it has also given without the greenhouse effect, the earth would be too cold to sustain life. However, human activities like as burning fossil fuels, deforestation and industrial processes. So you can basically think it has given one nutshell, and if you just understand this, you have a clear vision of what a greenhouse effect is. So the first point we can see over here is that it is like a own tutor. So the first point, we have just been to ChatGPT that is founded by chat.openai.com. We have typed a question and we have got a simple and easy to understand answer. And even you can have a follow-up question like if I ask, is solar energy related to greenhouse effect? You can even have a follow-up question. Yes, solar energy is related to the greenhouse effect. So it's almost like its own tutor. So great for the late night cramming or the quick concept clarity. So this is it. And now moving on to the second thing that it can help with, that writing assignments or essays in just minutes. So we will ask ChatGPT, write a 350-word essay on climate change for college purpose. And you can see I have provided conditions. You can even customize it by saying make it simple and yet engaging and awesome. So it will basically create, it has even created a own title, a growing concern for our future. Climate change, it has created paragraphs, and basically you can even customize this word count and topic, then review the generated draft. You can even personalize it. Do you like this personality? And done and dusted. You can just have this. Now, writing feels less stressful and it would be more fun. It can even give you an interview experience. For example, just imagine you are having your interview on the next Monday and you are preparing and you're very confused about what to prepare and what not. Then you can basically ask ChatGPT to behave like an interviewer for a particular job. I can even paste your job description from that particular company and you can ask that what are the probable questions I can have. So let's have a demo. Ask me 3 HR questions for a software development internship and suggest improvements. And you can even post this. And in no time, it has started generating. Here are the 3 HR questions for a software development internship. The first one, can you walk me through a recent coding project you have worked on and explain how you approach solving the problem? And you know what? This is a very, very common question. And it has given one tip also, suggestion. This question evaluates your problem solving skills, your technical ability, and how you approach development tasks. It gives the interviewer insight into your practical experience and thought process. So how do you manage the deadlines when working on the multiple projects or the tasks simultaneously? So this question assesses your time management skills and ability to prioritize the task. So the software development often involves juggling multiple assignments. So this gives the interviewer an idea of your organization skills. So this is very important. It has also written, how do you keep yourself updated with the latest programming languages and technologies? So basically this question looks after your own learning ability. So the self-improvement part. So it has even created one answer over it. And it is also suggestions for the improvement, provide specific examples, highlight the soft skills, prepare for the problem-solving questions, and so on. And for example, if I write, customize it with a data analyst fresher role, having no experience, what all the interviewer can ask me in the technical round, and it will give you answer in no time. HR questions for a data analyst fresher. Why are you interested in pursuing a career as a data analyst, and what are the steps you have taken to prepare yourself for this role? Can you describe a situation where you had to analyze data or solve a problem using numbers or data in your studies or personal projects? How do you approach learning new tools or technologies, especially when it comes to data analysis software? And then we have this technical question. What is the difference between the structured and unstructured data? What is data normalization? How comfortable are you with the data visualization tools? Can you describe a visualization you would use to represent sales data over time? Can you explain what a pivot table is when it is used in data analysis? And there are suggestions that showcase your learning journey, focus on the problem solving skills, prepare for the basic technical questions. Since you are a fresher, the technical questions may focus on the fundamentals like the Excel, Python, that is the libraries, pandas, and so on. So in no time, it can even have a mock interview over here. So you can even create ideas over here. It can brainstorm you with the ideas available. For example, you have a group project and you want an idea. I'll type over here, give 5 creative ideas for a group project on sustainability. And if you post this, in no time it has created this 5 ideas. Sustainable packaging design challenge. Objectives design are sustainable. It has created one objective, it has given one approach for you and one outcome. Then it has created community based urban garden, and for each topic if you see, for each idea if you see, it has created the objective, the approach and the outcome. So these projects can not only be educational but also impactful. So you never run out of inspiration from ChatGPT. So ChatGPT is a lot. And here if you can actually see, it has various search, deep search and create image, and you can basically do everything you want from ChatGPT. Let's now move on to DALL-E. The next we would be seeing is DALL-E. So DALL-E is an AI that creates images from text. You tell it what to draw and it generates the artwork, logos and visuals. So you would be getting DALL-E from this ChatGPT only, and in the Explore GPTs in the sidebar, you have to just mention DALL-E 2. So there are various versions of DALL-E and we'll start chatting. And now if you close this sidebar, you can basically see DALL-E 2. So DALL-E is an AI that creates the images, and DALL-E, this model uses a version of the CLIP model, that is a contrastive language image pre-training, combined with the VQ-VA2 or other generative image models. So DALL-E creates images from the text descriptions, generating highly creative visuals based on the natural language input. So let's see how you can use it. So for example, you're going to design the college poster design. So instantly it would be done. So we would write create a poster for a college fest with DJs, neon lights and a crazy crowd, okay? And you can basically give the prompt. And in no time, it will create one great image for you. You can write and you can see it has created a great image. You can basically download this image and do anything. Here's the poster for your college fest featuring a vibrant DJ scene with the neon lights and the energetic crowd. So forget Photoshop, let AI do the heavy lifting. So then you can create presentations over here, adding better visuals. So I'll write, draw a cartoon showing water pollution in a river. And you can basically see this. Now you can insert it into the PowerPoint or Canva and design it on your own. It acts as a vector, it acts as an icon and anything you want to act. Then you can instantly create club logos and branding. So you can even generate a logo for over here through DALL-E 2. Logo for a coffee club with books and steaming mugs. And you can see it has created a drastic logo and it feels like real. So you had just given one prompt and get 4 to 5 variations of logo. You can even ask it for a different version. So great for the student clubs or college events. Then you can even have it for the costume design or any ideas again. So we'll write futuristic costume design for a sci-fi play with glowing elements. And even you can see here, it has created a futuristic costume design for a scientific fiction play with the glowing elements. And it is very amazing. The qualities of the images are of high quality. And use vivid descriptions, use more detailed prompts, and you will get a great output from DALL-E 2. So, art students and theater class, this is your new secret weapon. So, let's move on to GPT-3. Our next GenAI tool is GPT-3. So, GPT-3 is the powerhouse engine behind the tools like ChatGPT. So it doesn't just chat, it can write full code, research summary papers, business emails, and more. So GPT-3 is a predecessor of GPT-4 based on the same GPT architecture but with a 175 billion parameters. It was one of the most advanced language models when it was released. So let's explore how it helps in the real world task. So initially, we can use ChatGPT because it is a ChatGPT 4 version. There is a GPT-3 is basically a predecessor of GPT-4. So I'm using ChatGPT over here. You can also use ChatGPT 4 to understand the GPT-3. So the first one is building websites without coding. So you can even write a HTML for personal portfolio with my name, bio, and contact form. And in no time, it has generated this. You can just copy it, paste it in VS Code or any of the code editors you like, and you can definitely get a proper output of this. Perfect for the beginners or the design students. Then you can even summarize a lengthy research paper. You can have to just upload the paper, and if you see this plus section, you can just click on this. You can just upload from their computer and summarize it in 2 seconds. It can even brainstorm you with the project and the startup ideas, like suggest 5 unique app ideas for college students. Now you can see the first one is Study Buddy Finder. Helps students find partners based on their courses, schedules, and many preferences. And you can even see Campus Event Hub, Course Material Exchange, Mental Wellness Check-in, Foodie Finder, and so on. It has even created bullet points for better understanding. So it is a noise-free study timer. Use it to kickstart your next hackathon or competition or anything. So I'm not dragging it more because as I have already showed you the use of ChatGPT. So that's it. Moving on to the next lesson of understanding the generative AI models. Imagine you are teaching a computer to be creative, like painting a picture, writing a poetry, or designing a dress. That's exactly what generative AI models aim to do. So learn from the data and generate new content that looks, sound, or feels real. But how do this pull off? Let's break it down into the 3 major families of models. The first one is GANs, that is the generative adversarial networks. Then the second one we have is VAEs, that is the variational autoencoders. And the third one, the final one, is transformers like the GPT. So let's understand this in a detailed one. The first one is generative adversarial networks, GANs, the artist versus the critic game. So how it works? Think of GANs like a competition between the 2 neural networks. The generator is like a rookie artist trying to create a fake art. The discriminator is the tough critic trying to tell the real art from the fake. So the artist creates random images. The critic says fake or real, and the artist learns to get better. So over the time, the fake images become indistinguishable from the real ones. So there's a real world analogy. It's like a student, that is a generator, forging a signature and a teacher, discriminator, spotting it. As both improve, the forgeries become nearly perfect. So there are certain applications. The first application is creating realistic human faces. Then style, the transfer in the art. And then we have fashion design prototypes. And then finally we have deep fakes, that is controversial but technically fascinating. And then let's move on to the challenges. So, training instability. The second one is it requires a lot of data and computing. So, moving on, we'll understand variational autoencoders, that is the VAs, the data compressor with creativity. So, VAs are like the compress and the rebuild systems. They take input data like an image, compress it into a low dimensional space that is called a latent space, and then reconstruct it. But here's the twist. The VAs don't just remember, they imagine. So by sampling different points in the latent space, they can generate new similar looking content. So let's move on and see the applications. First application is anomaly detection. So what doesn't fit in the normal data? Then the second one is generating handwritten digits and faces. And then we have data compression. And then finally we can see drug discovery, that is generating molecular structures. So now let's move on to the strengths. So more stable than the GANs, and it gives a well-structured latent space for the interpolation. So now moving on to the third model, we have transformer models, that is a master of the sequences. So unlike the GANs or the VAs, which focus more on images, transformers shine in handling sequences, especially the text. The core data idea is attention mechanism, a way to let the model focus on the different words when generating a sentence. So for example, when GPT generates a sentence, I like ice cream because it's sweet. It pays attention to the context, understanding how because relates to the ice cream and sweet. So let's now move on to the applications. The first one is chatbots, like the ChatGPT. And then we have code generation, that is the GitHub Copilot. And then thirdly, we have language translation. And finally, we have summarization and content creation. And then let's move on and see why transformers stand out. So the first one is they scale data well. The second one is they can be fine-tuned on specific tasks like the medical summarization or legal drafting. Then finally we have they handle the long-range dependencies better than the older models like the RNNs or the LSTMs. Then we have a comparison and the use cases. So the first one is GANs, and it is best at image generation. And then we have an example use, that is the face synthesis. And the associated strength is high realism, and the weakness is it is hard to train. Then we are seeing the VAs, and it is best at data compression, plus it is also good in anomaly detection. So it is used as a latent space exploration. And then coming to the strength, it is very stable training, and then coming to weakness, it has a less sharp outputs. So then coming to the model type, that is the transformers, and it is best at text and language. And then we have an example use, that is a ChatGPT and summarization. And then we have strength, that is powerful with the large data. And then we have certain weakness, that is expensive to train. Now moving on, let's clear something, which to use and when. So if you don't know which generative model to use for what, it can mess things up fast. So let's say you are building an app that needs to write emails, make pictures, answer questions, and turn speech into text. If you use the wrong model for the wrong job, your results will be poor, things will be slow, and you will waste time. So let's understand which models performs what. So for a sharp realistic images, we are using GANs. And then Coming to the next, for variation and latent space analysis, we are using VAEs. And then finally, for the language or the text-based task, we are using transformers. So, finally, how do these models actually work? So the GAN training process is, the first process is generator makes the fake data. Then the step 2 is the discriminator tries to classify the real versus fake. Then the third step is both get better at their jobs with each round. So the final goal is to fool the discriminator with the realistic outputs. So the transformers under the hood pays attention mechanism. So it helps model understand which words matter more. Then we have self-attention, that is allows the model to look at all the words in a sentence at once. And then we have positioner, that is encoding, and it helps track the orders of the words as transformers don't read left to right like humans. So this is why models like GPT-4 can summarize, translate and generate in text so well. So understanding the differences between these generative models is like knowing which tool to use for which creative job. So GANs are your digital painters, VAs are the smart compressors with imagination, and transformers are your text wizards. So down the line we'll see how to create our first generative AI model. In this chapter, we will be creating our first generative AI model. So the objective of this lesson is breaking down the steps of building a generative AI model using a pre-trained model. So we are here not training a model from the scratch. So instead, we will fine-tune or directly use a pre-trained model. So this makes it fast and beginner-friendly. So if I tell the steps in nutshell, we will be first choosing a pre-trained model. For example, GPT-2 because it is lightweight and good for beginners. The source from which we will getting the model is Hugging Face's Model Hub, and then we will be setting up the environment in Google Colab as you can see. Then we will be installing the libraries, the transformers, torch, and then loading the pre-trained model and the tokenizer. Then we will be writing a prompt and generating a text. So here we will be using the pipeline API for simplicity and parameters like max length and temperature. So let's begin. So here I am inside this Google Colab and I have chosen a new notebook to begin with, and then I'll just insert exclamation pip install transformers and shift enter. And it may take some time, and you can see it has actually installing all the required transformers. So pip install means install this package in Colab, and transformers is a library by the Hugging Face. So it gives us access to the powerful AI models like GPT-2, BERT and more. And then we will install from transformers import pipeline, and then we will be using the loading generator GPT-2 text generator. So generator equal to, and you can see pipeline text generation and tab. So we'll execute this, and basically this pipeline is a shortcut tool. It hides all the complex code needed to run the AI models. So here the text generation tells like, hey, I want a model that can write text for me, and GPT-2 is the actual model name. It was trained by the OpenAI to predict what word comes next in a sentence. And then basically you can see that it has model 7 tensors, 100%, has loaded everything, and the storage is also enabled for this repository. And then we'll begin with the prompt. Okay, so let's give the prompt and let's keep it very simple. Prompt equal to once upon a time in a world full of AI, comma. And then in the next line, I will be writing result is equal to generator, and we will be passing the prompt inside it, and then we will be giving the max length, one parameter, and I will be specifying it as 100, and I will be giving the number return sequence number return sentence is equal to 1, and I don't require this, so I will be directly printing the result. The first one, the first doc will print, and then we will be passing the generated text, and I will run this. And so the prompt I have given, this is a starting sentence you give to the AI, like saying, hey, start a story with this and this and this. So max length is equal to 100. So this particularly means generate up to 100 words or characters after the prompt. And then you can even see I have given this num return sequence is equal to 1. This is asking for just one version of the result. So you can basically ask for 2-3 versions. I have just asked for only one. And then the result you can see. And in the third bracket, I have given a 0 and the generated text. It extracts the generated text from the result. So you will see the AI write a continuation of your prompt basically. So that's your first generative AI output. You can basically see, once upon a time in the world of AI, your only limit was when you could kill monsters, but now you can for the first time ever. The new monsters are in the battle in the blood of elves now, not the usual black and white battles that you have experienced with the past couple of years, and it has created a great one. So you can even see the power of generative AI. It has that power of completing your text, your prompt. So then let's write result equal to generator and if I want to write prompt comma enter, then max length I will again mention equal to 100, then enter. I want the num return sequence equal to 1, and have to put a comma over here, okay, so don't forget this guys. And then temperature is equal to 0.7 comma top. Okay, don't worry, I'll explain one by one as I write. Equal to 50, then top p equal to 0.95 comma, then I'll write do samples equal to true, basically a boolean value. So then after this I'll print the result, print result, and in third brackets will be the first one, and then again third brackets will give in generated text, and then I'll basically gonna shift enter. So here basically we have parameters like temperature. So temperature, what it does, It controls the creativity. This is lower is equal to safe and higher is the wild and creative is 0.7 medium. So this top underscore k is equal to 50. So pick from the top 50 likely next words instead of just the top one. Then we have this top underscore p is equal to 0. It is the nuclear sampling, that is a more natural randomness. Then we have do sample is equal to true, that is enables the randomness. So without this the output is too predictable. So once you run this code, you will see something like, once upon a time in a world full of AI, and with every advancement in AI machines, there has been a change in the way we think about the world. And we need to make sure that we can make sure, and it has repeated it so many times. So every time you run it, you might get a slightly different result. So over here, you have used the Hugging Faces Transformers library to load the GPT-2. Then you wrote a prompt and then the AI continued it using its training. So you did it without any complex machine learning setup inside the Google Colab. So this is your very first generative AI model. In the next chapter, we will be seeing the real world of impact of generative AI models. So generative AI is not just about another buzzword. It's fundamentally changing how businesses operate, solve problems, and serve customers. From generating product descriptions to designing aircraft parts, generating AI is stepping into roles that once required human creativity and intelligence. So in this session, we will explore how industries across the board are using generative AI in meaningful and practical ways. The first one is healthcare. That is a faster diagnosis and drug discovery. So in healthcare, generative AI is helping doctors and scientists make faster decisions. The first one is medical imaging. So AI can analyze medical images like the X-rays or MRIs and create reports to help doctors quickly identify the problems. For example, a hospital uses AI to write reports for doctors, cutting down the time spent on each patient. Then we have drug discovery. So AI helps scientists discover new medicines faster by predicting how proteins fold, which is important for the creating drugs. For example, a company used AI to discover a new drug in just 18 months, which usually takes much longer time. Then moving on to the next one, we have finance, that is a smarter risk management and report generation. So in finance, AI is making it easier to analyze data and detect the problems. The first one is automated financial reports. So AI can create financial reports based on data, saving time for analysts. For example, a hedge fund uses AI to write the market reports in minutes. Then we have fraud detection. So AI helps banks detect fraud by generating the fake transaction data to test their security systems, making them more reliable. So for instance, MasterCard uses AI to create realistic transaction data to improve their fraud detection system. So now moving on to the third, we have retail, and that is the personalized shopping experience. So retailers use AI to create personalized shopping experiences for customers. The first one we have is product descriptions. So AI writes product descriptions that are customized for different customer groups, such as casual descriptions for young buyers and formal ones for the professionals. For example, a clothing brand uses AI to automatically write descriptions for thousands of products. And then we have virtual try-ons. So AI lets customers try on clothes or makeup virtually to see how it would look on them before buying. So for instance, Sephora's app uses AI to suggest makeup and lets users see how it looks on their face using their phone camera. So now moving on to the fourth one, we have manufacturing. There is a faster design and maintenance. So AI is also making manufacturing more efficient. The first one is AI generated designs. AI helps create lighter, stronger parts for products, reducing waste and material cost. For example, an airplane company used AI to design parts that were 50% lighter but just as strong as the traditional designs. Then moving on, we have predictive maintenance. So AI helps factories predict when machines will need maintenance, reducing downtime and improving efficiency. For example, a factory uses AI to automatically create maintenance schedules for machines based on their performance data. So now moving on to the fifth one, we have education. That is a personalized learning for students. So AI is making education more personalized and accessible. The first one is AI tutors. So AI powered tutors can help students with the homework by guiding them step by step through problems. For example, a student stuck on a math problem can get hints and explanations from an AI tutor available at any time. Then we have automated feedback. So teachers use AI to create quizzes and provide feedback on assignments, saving them hours each week. For instance, a teacher uses AI to review essays and provide comments in just minutes instead of hours. So now moving on, we have sixth one is entertainment, that is creating content at a scale. So in entertainment, AI is being used to create content faster and cheaper. First one is script writing. AI can help writers come up with ideas, generate dialogues, and even create storyboards before filming. For example, a filmmaker uses AI to plan scenes and create visuals before they start shooting, save time in the pre-production. So then we have virtual characters. So AI can create virtual characters that speak and act, which is useful for movies, games, and social media content. For instance, AI is used to create virtual influencers who interact with their followers on social media. So now moving on down the line, we will see how to create a chatbot in Google Colab. So before we dive into the code, let's first understand what the Hugging Face Transformers library is. So the Hugging Face Transformers library is one of the most popular libraries for the natural language processing, and it provides the pre-trained models that can perform a variety of tasks like the text generation, text classification, named entity recognition, and more. So here in the code, we will be using a model called DialogGPT Small, which is a variant of GPT-2 designed for conversation generation. So the DialogGPT was trained on the large conversational datasets, making it a perfect fit for building the chatbots. So let's now build the setting up the environment. So for this, we will install pip install transformers. So this line basically installs the Transformers library. You need this to work with the pre-trained models provided by the Hugging Face. So this will allow you to load the models like the DialogGPT we will be using here, a conversational AI model, and use it to generate the chat responses. And here we will begin with importing the necessary libraries. From Transformers, import the auto model. For the casual LM auto tokenizer, import torch, and then we will run this. So here we are importing the necessary components like the auto model ID for the casual LM. So this class basically loads a pre-trained model for the casual language modeling, which is used for the text generation task. So we will use it to load the DialogGPT model. And the auto tokenizer, the tokenizer converts the text into tokens which are known as numbers, that the model can process and then converts the model's output back into the human readable text. So the torch is then, PyTorch is the deep learning framework used by the model. It's used for the tensor manipulations as models rely on these tensors for the input and output. So let's begin. Then we will begin with the loading the model and the tokenizer. So here this converts the raw text, that is the user input, into tokens. model understands. So each word or phrase is mapped into the unique ID, making it easier for the model to process and generate a response. So then model is that pre-trained DialogGPT small model is loaded over here. So this model has been trained on a large corpus of dialogues, which enables it to generate the relevant responses in a conversational manner. So then we will begin with the chat initialization. And before beginning with the chat initialization, we will see that the tokenizer config JSON is 100% complete, and the best part of Collab is it will give you all the status of how it is complete and for which particular merges.text.vocab.json which is completing and what problem is there. So let's just run this and let me explain. So chat history IDs. So this is a variable where we store the history of the conversation. So this helps the model maintain the context across multiple user inputs. Then we have having a print statement that start chatting with your AI, type quit to exit. So this provides a welcoming message to the user to start chatting and gives the exit command. So then we will begin with the chat loop, that is the main logic of the chatbot. So then we'll begin with this chat loop logic. So we have written for step in range 5, user input is equal to input and then u and then semicolon and then a space. And then we have written if user input dot lower is equal to quit, then I have to break it. Break the loop. Break. So then I'll run this. And this section of the code basically uses input to get the user's message and exit condition. If the user types quit, the loop will break and the chat ends. So let's see. And here basically you can see I have written hey and still it doesn't break. So let's write quit over here and let's see what happens. So you can see that it has stopped generating, means it has got out of the logic. So here we have this encoding user input. So encoding, the user input is converted into token IDs using the tokenizer dot encode. So the EOS token, that is the end of sequence token, is added at the end of the user input. This tells the model that the input has ended and it prepares for generating a response. Then tensors. So this is the return underscore tensors equal to PT. That part ensures that the encoded input is returned as a PyTorch tensor. This is the format that the model expects. So we will run this. And then we will be moving on to managing the conversation in history. So here we are having this managing conversation history and it is up to maintaining the context. So we want to keep the track of the conversation history so that the model can respond in context. So if there's previous chat history, that is the chat history IDs, it is concatenated with the new input, allowing the model to consider the entire conversation so far. So if there is no previous history, that is the first user input, the new input IDs are used directly. So then we will be moving on to generating a response. So here we are concentrating on generating a response. Chat history IDs is equal to model generated bot input IDs, max length equal to 1000 and pat token ID is equal to tokenizer dot EOS token ID. So model response, so this part sends the concatenated input to the model, that is model.generate, and generates a response. The maximum length specifies the maximum length of the generated text. So in this case it is set to 1000 tokens. Then we have pad token ID, that is ensures the padding tokens are handed correctly, that is the model needs to know which tokens are just padding. Then we will be moving on to the decoding the response. And here we are seeing response is equal to tokenizer dot decode chat history IDs, that is the bot input IDs dot shape and everything. So basically decoding this generated token IDs are converted back into the human readable text using the tokenizer dot decode. Then we have skip the special tokens. The skip special tokens is equal to true. It ensures that any special tokens like the EOS are not included in the final output. So we will run this. And then finally, we are actually printing the response, that is displaying the response. So the print, this generating the response, is displayed to the user. So we'll run this and you can see bot, I'm so sorry. So what happens when you run this code? You initiate the chat and the bot welcomes you to start chatting. So every time you input something, the bot takes your message, encodes it and sends it to the model along with the conversation history. The model generates a response considering the entire conversation so far, and the bot outputs that response. So this loop continues until you type quit, ending the conversation. So, building a chatbot is essential because it enhances the user engagement by providing the real-time, personalized interactions, making it more dynamic and the user-friendly compared to the static content. So, chatbots are available 24/7, ensuring the users can get immediate responses at any time. So, by automating the repetitive tasks like answering common questions, processing orders, or providing basic customer support, chatbots free up valuable resources, allowing human employees to focus on more complex tasks. So then, additionally, chatbots can improve customer satisfaction by quickly resolving the inquiries, reducing the wait times, and enhancing the overall user experience. So implementing the context management allows the bot to remember the previous interactions, ensuring a continuous and more personalized experience for the user. So finally, enabling the multi-turn conversation handling means the chatbot can engage in back and forth dialogues rather than only answering the isolated questions, so making it feel more conversational and human-like. So these features collectively help create an intelligent, efficient, and engaging chatbot that can significantly improve user interactions and streamline the business operations. So you can even fine-tune your own model. So this could be your own dataset to make it more specific to a particular domain or a use case. You can even make it worth handling the longer conversations so that it remembers the chat history for a long time. So guys, you have made your first chatbot and down the line, let's get improved. So in this lesson, we will understand about the limitations of generative AI models. So the first one is lack of understanding. So AI models generate content by predicting what comes next based on the patterns in data, but they don't truly understand the content. For example, when an AI creates an article or a code, it doesn't know what it's writing. It's just mixing patterns based on the past data. Then moving on to the dependence on the data quality. So the AI's performance is only as good as the data it's trained on. So if it has biased or incomplete data, it can generate biased or inaccurate results. Think about biased hiring algorithms or flawed healthcare recommendations, real issues caused by the bad training data. So now moving on to the third one, we have creativity limitations. So AI can produce impressive creative outputs like artwork or music. So however, it struggles to innovate or produce truly original ideas like a human artist would. It's more about remixing the existing content rather than inventing something groundbreaking. Now moving on to the next, we have ethical concerns. So AI models can sometimes generate harmful content, from offensive language to deep fakes that are hard to distinguish from the real footage. So this poses risk for misinformation and ethical dilemmas, especially in media and entertainment. So now moving on to the next, we have context and nuance. So generative AI can miss the subtle nuance in conversations or emotions. For instance, if you asked a model to help with the sensitive topics, Like mental health, it might offer advice that's generic and more tailored to the individual's emotional needs. Next, we have cost and resource intensive. So, training a generative AI model requires huge amounts of computing power, time, and energy. So, these models often run on the powerful servers, consuming a lot of resources, which raises concerns about the sustainability and the environmental impact. So, now moving on to the next one, we have limited problem solving capabilities. While generative AI is great at tasks like writing essays or summarizing text, it's not well suited for the task requiring the deeper reasoning or the complex problem solving. It can simulate problem solving, but it doesn't truly understand the solution in the way humans do. Now, moving on to the next one, we have risk of over reliance. So, with AI generating more and more content, there's a risk of becoming too dependent on the technology. So, people might rely on AI for the tasks that require human expertise or critical thinking, which could hinder the personal creativity or decision making. So, now moving on, we have data privacy issues. So, AI models can sometimes generate content based on the personal data, raising concerns about privacy. So, this is especially problematic in the areas like healthcare, where sensitive data can be inadvertently shared or misused. So, now moving on to the next one, we have generalization challenges. So, generative models are great at specific tasks but struggle with the broader generalization. For instance, a model trained to generate images of the cats may struggle to create the convincing images of a completely different animal, showing that AI is limited in its flexibility. Now, moving on down the line, we will understand the future of Gen AI models. The first one is improved understanding and comprehension. So that the future of generative AI will likely see models that can understand the context more deeply, providing more relevant and meaningful outputs. So we might see AI models that can truly comprehend the meaning behind the responses, rather than just spitting out the data. So next, we'll move on to the enhanced creativity. So as AI models evolve, we can expect them to push boundaries and become more innovative. So with advancements in the techniques like the reinforcement learning and neural architecture search, we could see AI producing truly original content, potentially revolutionizing fields like the art, music, and literature. So now moving on, we have more ethical AI. So in the future, we will likely see more regulations around AI usage to prevent the harmful outcomes. So AI companies are already working on improving the transparency, reducing bias, and making their models more ethical and responsible. So now moving on, we have better personalization. So the future holds AI that can offer more tailored, personalized experience. So imagine an AI that truly understands your needs and preferences. So providing you with the content, products or services that feel personalized and relevant. Now moving on to the next one, we have energy efficiency. So as the demand for the generative AI grows, researchers are focusing on creating more energy efficient models. We may see smaller, more powerful models that can run on less computational power, reducing the environmental impact. So next we have human AI collaboration. So rather than replacing humans, the future of generative AI models is likely to be centered on collaboration. So we will see AI helping people be more productive, augmenting creativity and providing insights that humans can use to make better decisions. So now moving on to the next, we have integration with the new technologies. So generative AI will continue to integrate with the new technologies like augmented reality, that is the AR, then the virtual reality, that is the VR, the blockchain, and and opening up new possibilities for the immersive experiences and the decentralized applications. So now moving on, we have solving complex real-world problems. So in the near future, we could see AI models working alongside scientists to tackle the big challenges like climate change, pandemics, and global food security. So AI could help analyze data, predict trends, and offer innovative solutions to these pressing problems. So now we'll see the next one. We have more accessible AI. So as technology advances, AI will become more accessible. Tools will be easier to use, and people from all the walks of life, not just the technical experts, will be able to harness the power of AI to create and innovate. So while generative AI models are still evolving, their potential to transform the industries, enhance creativity, and solve the complex problems is undeniable. But it's important to address their limitations and work towards creating more ethical, efficient, and responsible AI systems. So the future is exciting and we are just getting started. So guys, congratulations on completing the Gen AI Models for Beginners course by Simplilearn. You have now built a strong foundation on the generative AI models by learning what generative AI was, how it impacted the real world, then creating chatbots, creating your first Gen AI model, and then finally closing it with the future of Gen AI models. So as you move forward, continue experimenting with your own data sets and refining your own pipeline to unlock the full potential of Gen AI in creating smarter, context-aware Gen AI systems and models. Thank you for watching.
Staying ahead in your career requires continuous learning and upskilling. Whether you're a student aiming to learn today's top skills or a working professional looking to advance your career, we've got you covered. Explore our impressive catalog of certification programs in cutting-edge domains, including data science, cloud computing, cybersecurity, AI, machine learning, or digital marketing. Designed in collaboration with leading universities and top corporations, and delivered by industry experts, choose any of our programs and set yourself on the path to career success. Click the link in the description to know more.
Hi there, if you like this video, subscribe to the Simplilearn YouTube channel and click here to watch similar videos. To nerd up and get certified, click here.